Hello, it is Friday. Ooh, let me get that one off. I haven't got that one working yet. There we go. Hello, it is Friday. I thought I would do a quick live stream to talk about this new drone from DJI that landed this week. Now, this isn't going to be a major one. This is just really to give you guys some thoughts on it. Now, I don't have one. This isn't it. I was not seeded one of the new drones by DJI. I was not one of the what appeared to be thousands of YouTube channels that was seeded one by DJI, but no, I haven't. I've still got my trusty old FPV drone. So I just thought I'd do sort of a quick 20 minutes just to give some thoughts on it and just try and answer a few things that I've spotted on this one as well. So good evening, Pixel Perfect. I hope you are safe and well. If you're watching live, say hello. This video is going to go up on the channel as well. So what I'm going to do is just let it roll on a little bit for a few minutes just to let the numbers build up. How is everyone? Has anyone in the chat bought one? Because it's been available on day one. You could buy it literally out the door. Retailers had it in stock. I even know of people who literally walked into retailers the day of launch and walked out with it. In fact, we had people walk into retailers before it was even launched and walked out with it as well, as we always have with DJI. But yeah, so, you know, if there is anyone, I'd be interested to know. So no, just like Bruce, you know, I'm not on the media list for this one. Something I will say is the sheer number of people they sent this product to. In many ways, they're doing everyone no favor because it's going to be really hard to get any content properly noticed outside of the very big channels. So much so, even Philip Bloom put a post on Facebook saying he's not releasing his review yet because of look how many reviews have gone up. And just to put it up and show you guys, you know, if we look at just how many, we've got The Verge, they've had good view numbers. You've got Billy Kyle, Dobo got one, Ken was sent one by the look of it. You've got the DJI video. You've just got loads. But you've even got the likes of Linus's guys hopping in. You know, Short Circuit was even involved in this one. They put a video out too. There's just, you know, who didn't they send one to? Well, they didn't send one to me. That's for sure. So, hello, Bruce. Where's the exit? Yeah, that is the truth. So, no, you know, but I've, like all of these ones, I do watch these launches quite closely. So I just thought I'd share some of my thoughts on this one because, in many ways, it is a very, very interesting launch in the sense of it's probably their best overall camera drone to date. And I mean that from a point of the overall functionality compared to the Mavic 2 Pro, which I've got here, and some of the others. I think it probably is going to tick 99% of the boxes people want. It's certainly not a drone many people are going to upgrade to unless you've got something like a Spark, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But overall, I think there's really not a lot not to like on it, but it isn't one you're going to rush out and buy, you know, and that's the thing with it. So, anyway, let's get on with it and let's take a look for those who haven't seen. We probably have seen, but yes, DJI have put out the Mavic Air 2. Now, let me just jump across. So I am up in the corner. I wasn't sure if I was. The Mavic Air 2S, or the Air 2S, because DJI don't call them the Mavic now. And it is an upgraded Air 2. It's that simple. It now has some top object avoidance sensors. It has a new bigger 1-inch camera, and it has a couple of software tweaks, and that really is the basis of it. Now, I'm not going to dive into things too deeply. What I am going to do, though, say is about the camera. It's got a 1-inch sensor, similar to what we've got on this. Just to go clean up the Mavic 2 Pro. It's not the same camera. There are differences, but it is very similar. 1-inch sensor. This time, it's not 4K. It's up to 5.4K 30 frames a second, which alongside that will now bring 4K 60, which a lot of people are going to like. It is fixed aperture, and it is not variable aperture like you've got on the Mavic 2 Pro, but I don't think that's a big issue for most people. You know, they say you don't need ND filters on this. You still need ND filters if you want to do some stuff. It's got these new top object avoidance sensors, but to be honest, I think that's a complete waste of time. And it's got a few more bells and whistles. Now, from the camera point of view, as I've said, it's 5.4K up to 30 frames a second, or 4K 60. It's got up to 150 megabits a second data rate, but that'll be in 5K 30. I suspect it's still about 120 megabits a second in 4K 60. Haven't checked it, but I suspect it's around that. It is a fixed aperture, 20 megapixel. It is going to be a very, very nice camera. I'll say that. It supports D-Log. It supports JPEG plus RAW. It does everything you'd want it to do. The only real thing it doesn't have is what they call the Hasselblad color profiles on this, and it doesn't have the variable aperture. And I'm just not convinced how many people would even really know how to use the variable aperture. The camera-wise, I think it's absolutely solid. They go over to that 1-inch sensor. We don't know what the sensor is, but it's a 1-inch sensor. They go on to D-Log M supports, which is very nice. Again, very nice feature to have. Hyperlapse, smart modes, it's got all these typical stuff. Hyperlapse, wide angle, 180 in sphere, all the usual stuff we've come to see. And then really the big other change is the top object avoidance sensors. Now, there is another change I'll talk about in a minute, which is the wireless system, and I've seen a question on that about goggles, and I'll come to that in a minute. But it's got a bit more software tweaks, what DJI call master shots. This doesn't particularly interest me. Very nice. Basically, if you don't know what master shots is, it will take, I think, is it 12? 10. 10 maneuvers. It'll just do them and then chop it up and make a little film for you out of it automatically. It's a software feature. It really is. So it will go away, it'll do a maneuver, and it will create this little video for you automatically. Quite nice, but how many people are going to really use it? If everyone's doing it, they're all going to look very similar. I don't really think it's much of a thing. DJI have said it's got upgraded Spotlight 2.0, Active Track 4.0, and Point of Interest 3.0. Now, I'm going to talk about these a bit more in a minute, because DJI love to increment these numbers with very, very little change, and I will talk about that specifically, because in all of the videos I've seen, there isn't really a lot of difference here on this stuff, and I'll cover that properly in a minute. And you know, really that's it. You've got these top sensors. Now, there is a slight drop in flight time compared to the Mavic Air 2 because there's a bit of extra weight. It's down to 31 minutes. You know, they're saying about this top sensors, and we'll come on to that a bit more in a second as well. And then we've got this OcuSync 3. It's got AirSense, which DJI have been putting on all their drones recently. And they're bundling a load of accessories when you buy the Fly More kit, really. So, before we go back into it, it's a very interesting product. Now, Rob Rosa said Ken Dobo video is the best I've seen. I've not seen his yet. He's ditching his Mavic 2 Pro. I haven't seen his, and I'm going to guess the reasons are size and weight, and the benefits this brings are not worth having. And I'd probably agree with that. I can't say I'd sell this to buy that and just take a big loss on that, because it's not... Okay, it is smaller, but I think if I didn't have this, I'd buy that. But I'm a bit reluctant to just sell this for a lot less and go and buy that, if I'm honest. But I can understand many people's reasons for doing so, especially around the size and weight. Now, it was a bit of a weird launch, because it wasn't really a massive launch. It just fell out. The video launched. Millions of reviews went on YouTube. One thing I'm just going to say on that, and I don't mean this against Ken, because I really like Ken, actually. It's all very well people who've been sent these for free saying they're going to ditch their one drone for the other. There's a very different thing, people doing it with their own money. And I don't know if Ken has bought his, and I understand many people's reasons for doing it. But one thing I've become a lot more let's just say, weary of is when you've got YouTubers like myself who've been sent a product and we say, this is the best one, I'm never going to use that again. That's all very well if we haven't paid for it. But most people are not quite in the same position, and you have to also understand that as well. I can certainly see the reasons to ditch this for that. I'm just not convinced viability of selling this for that is something I would personally do, if that makes sense. But what I will do is after I finish this live stream, I'll go and check Ken's out, because I do like Ken's videos. He does a very, very good job. He really does indeed. So, to cover some specific points on this drone. So, let's cover the little interesting bits. Okay. Get back onto the desktop. Okay, so the camera is, as I've said, 5.4K, 150 megabits a second, no variable aperture. Just remember that. About the only downside to it, that's the only thing I'd say is a downside on this drone. Moving down. Spotlight 2.0. Interesting. Doesn't really look much different to me in all of the videos I've seen. Active Track 4.0. Now, I've got a bit of a bugbear on this. There has been some fantastic videos put out showing how the object sensing works on this. And personally, I don't think this is any better than what we've seen from DJI before. It still has many of the same quirks that we've seen on DJI's drones before with Active Track. That is, its tracking drops very easily because it's contrast based. It jerks around when it loses tracking and tries to fly into you. If you watched, whose video is it? It's a great video. Let me just find it. If you've watched DC Rainmaker's video, it is very good on showing this. Very, very good indeed. And, you know, to me, this, let me just find, where is he? He goes to, and when it loses him, it tries to take him out again a few times. It's exactly the same as the Active Track on, actually, it's before that. It's when he turned around, isn't it? Oh, the ads are coming up now. We'll just wait for that a second. It tries to fly into him. It doesn't avoid branches, and it struggles mid-rolls. Mid-rolls, mid-rolls, mid-rolls. It does that very much I'm going to fly into you thing again. Let me just see if I can find it. Here we go. Is it here? No, is it the bit where it tries to take him out? He's back on the Skydio there. It must be early on. It's really hard to find it when you're trying to scrub. So yeah, it's certainly not much better. In my opinion, it is no better at all than the previous system. The sensors on the top, yes, there's more sensors, but if the system is flawed to start with, you're going to get the same behavior. I've just got this playing because I wanted to find the bit to show you. There, watch this now. I think it's here. You'll see it, and I think he'll stop, and it just tries to do that same thing again. Here we go. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and boom. You know, it is very disconcerting. It really is when it does this. And the Active Track. Look, the Active Track, in my opinion, is no better than any of the other models. It should not be trusted. DJI have put a new, they're saying it's better, but it is nothing like the Skydio. Shouldn't be trusted anywhere near branches and trees. So, really, I'm not really impressed with the big difference. Then it comes on to the radio system, and that's the Active Track there with the extra 2 cameras on the top, and they're showing you the back. Yeah. Right. OcuSync 3. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. Now, DJI are saying this drone features the OcuSync 3 image transmission system, which is the same image transmission system that this uses, the DJI FPV drone. It's not OcuSync 2. The original DJI FPV system wasn't OcuSync 2. It wasn't OcuSync 3. It was OcuSync 2.5. We had to make the name up. But they're saying it has 4 antennas, dual band, 1080p transmission, 12 kilometers, OcuSync 3. However, when you dig into the specs, it all gets a bit messy because the drone is saying it is OcuSync 3. However, the remote controller is OcuSync 2. And what DJI are actually saying is the video transmission system on the drone is OcuSync 3, whereas the remote control transmission system is OcuSync 2, which is a bit confusing. Now, this had a huge amount of speculation on day one. Is it supported by the smart controller? Is it going to work with the motion controller and goggles version 2? Now, the smart controller does work with the Air 2S. That is fine. However, the goggles version 2 and the motion controller at this moment in time do not. We do not know if this is permanent. We do not know if this is the future. What you have to say is see is what DJI say. And what DJI say is this. Does the Air 2 support the FPV goggle series or the motion controller? For further information, please pay attention to future firmware updates. Now that is a very firm maybe, but no guarantees. Now, just to give you my take on this, having used the DJI gear for many, many years and come across these things all of the time, whenever DJI say something like that, they're either thinking about it or they're planning to do it, but do not base any purchase decisions based on it actually happening. I have said it time and time again, and until it's in your hand with DJI, don't trust it. It may not happen. It isn't a no and it isn't a yes. Now, there was a lot of rumors beforehand saying it's going to work. I believe some of the media guys who were given early access on their firmware, their beta firmware that they were using, the goggles did work. It seems that the public firmware, it doesn't. Now, that often happens with DJI. For instance, there was solid talk of the version 1 FPV system having USB video output before it launched. I never personally saw it, but others did. Yet, it was removed for launch. So, there are things DJI do at times when they're either not happy with the performance or they haven't got the firmware where they need it to be. So, it does appear that the pre-launch firmware for the media people, the people who were seeded the product to review, do say that it was working with the goggles version 2, but here and now today it isn't. So, we're going to have to wait and see. There are no guarantees. There are no yeses. There are no nos. We're just going to have to wait and see where it goes. Now, really, just to give you what I think about this, and please, guys, if you've got any questions, goodbye, Bruce, please put them in the comments. You know what? There are some things on this which are a little disappointing. For instance, on the Mavic Air 2 series, they've removed that smart return to home feature where it will follow its route backwards rather than just go direct line of sight. But they've added something else called, I think it's battery saving return to home. There are some limiting features around the APS system, which is, let me just show you this. The APS system is when it flies itself between trees and everything. You are heavily limited to the video frame rates you can record in. Something to be in note with the APS. Is it APS? Let me just find it. Have they got it on the main page? It's when you dig into the manual, right? You see them talking about it in the manual. I think they talk about it here. Is it? Let's have a look. Ability APS 4.0. Okay, here it is. So, APS 4.0. Okay, and this is where it navigates through the trees. Yes, that's all very nice, but you are massively limited on video recording resolution when using that feature. The maximum I think you can record is 1080p. It's in the manual. I did notice that one buried away in the manual. AP. It's been a while since I've used this feature, so it's APAS. Let's just go, Control F, APAS. And it's in the here we go. I think we definitely need to zoom in on that a bit, don't we, guys? So just to show you this, this tells you how it works. And when you read down here, APS is disabled when using intelligent flight modes and recording at high resolutions such as 2.7K, 48, 50, and 60, 1080p, 120, 4K, 48, 50, and 60, and 5K are not available in APS. So looking at that, you should have 4K 30 in that mode still. Okay, but some of the models aren't available. Some of the modes aren't available. So that is worth taking into account. And the other thing, as I was saying, was about the smart battery return to home features. They've changed that as well. So, Jet Martin, will the top sensors really prevent you crashing into something above you if there's something towards your back? No, it's not. These top sensors they're not really top. These sensors are for high bank angle flying. That's what they're for. They're allowing it to do that. You know, it's the same on this. When you know, obviously, there's no object avoidance in sport mode on this model, so these sensors are allowing you to have that object sensing. Let's just go into the manual. Do you know, I haven't checked, is the object sensing working in sport mode on this? I haven't actually checked. Where are we? Just have a look. Vision system, they call it. I haven't actually checked. Allowing for flying. Actually, it'd be sport mode. Switch between sport mode, normal mode, and city mode. Flight modes. In sport mode, the aircraft uses position, making it responsive to movements, maximum speed is 19. Oh no, so object sensing is still disabled in sport mode. See, I find that very interesting. Very interesting that object sensing is still disabled, yet you've got those forward-facing cameras. So just to show you guys this, sorry, I was looking for it on the video. I knew the answer, but... So, sport mode, the aircraft uses GPS positioning. Obviously, obstacle sensing is disabled in sport mode. Now, to me, that makes these new cameras on the top almost a complete waste of time. I knew the answer, but everyone is talking about them as if they're the top sensor. Yeah, no, it is not. You know, the Mavic 2 Pro has a top TOF sensor, so it's an infrared sensor. It's not like it's like the Inspire 2, really, more than proper upwards vision sensors, but it does have some object sensing. But the cameras on the front, it does make you wonder why those cameras are there in normal modes. Because, well, okay, I think we all know that when this was banked over, it didn't really have the best object sensing. So that's why they've put them there. To be honest, I think it's been done more than anything just to put a feature on it. I'm not convinced those cameras on the front are going to make any real world difference. I really don't. I really don't. Evening, Enquiries UK. Hope you are safe and well. So, look, what is my thoughts on this new drone? Well, I will be honest. I think this is probably going to be one of DJI's most popular models now they've done these upgrades. I think there is a hell of a lot to like about this product. 1-inch sensor, 4K 60, JPEG plus RAW, D-Log, 150 megabits a second. Boom. That's the camera sorted. Everyone's happy. From a flight point of view, small and light, 31 minutes. What is there not to like? I don't really personally care about all of the additional smart features. I'm not particularly interested in that myself these days. They're handy. POI and stuff like that's handy when you want to do something specific. But these new features around it, taking these, you know, videos for you and making a little shot, I'm not really interested in that. I do think this is going to be the most popular portable camera drone there is. I loved my Mavic Air. My Mavic Air was almost the perfect drone, apart from it being too noisy and the radio system being too bad, the enhanced Wi-Fi. I could actually put up with the camera on it because it had a fairly okay camera for the size of it, and I was willing to take those compromises for the size. Whereas now, you're going to have that 1-inch sensor on a much more portable drone. If I was buying today, I would not be buying this. Period. I would not be buying the Mavic 2 Pro. I'd be buying the E2S. 100%. Now, do I think, though, it's an upgrade? Not really. As I said, I find it hard to say, sell this and buy that. If they gave me that, I'd be using it all of the time. But for me to sell this now, I'm going to lose a chunk of money and have to spend, look, if I sold this today, I'm probably going to get £600 now in the UK. So to get to the Fly More kit, this with my Fly More kit, I might get 600, 650. I'm going to have to put another £600 to it to be able to buy an A2S. It's simply not worth it. £600 is too much money to make this smaller. It's just not worth it. However, for people looking to buy it today, I think it's a very, very good option. Or if you're someone flying an Mini or Mini 2 and you fancy an upgrade, definitely a Spark or a Mavic Pro, definitely. It's a tough, if you got one of those drones, yes, but from the Mavic 2 Pro, no. I can see Mavic 2 zoom users being interesting because of the 1-inch sensor. I really can. But it really isn't an upgrade. So I think there is a massive amount to like about it. I really do. Jet Martin, is the A2S with the £400 price difference, i.e. with Fly More combo, refresh, kit access? That's what you've got to ask yourself. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to upgrade. It's a lot of, okay. The extra sensors on the top really don't, it's not anywhere near what Skydio can do. So it doesn't matter what they do. It's just not as good. It's that simple. Okay, on the object avoidance. You can't trust it, as these videos have shown. So they may as well just not be there, in my opinion. Especially the fact they don't work in sport mode. I'm a bit disappointed in that. It's one thing I forgot to check before coming on here. It's the only thing I didn't know. I don't really care about the lack of aperture on the sensor. It's not a biggie for me, that. It really isn't. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's a drone you can't get excited about. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I think it's very nice. I think it's very tidy. I'd love to have a play with one. I'd love to fly one. If I owned one, I can probably say I'd use it a lot compared to my other drones. But it's not, this doesn't have any issues that stop me flying it on a daily basis. I don't think, oh my God, this is too big to carry with me. It still isn't. Here's the bag. It's really not an issue for me. Most of the time when I'm out and about, I'm carrying this damn thing, right? Full of camera gear. The drone is the least of my problems, to be honest. Jet Martin said the sensors on the side would have been a hell of a lot more useful. Absolutely, for object avoidance, especially in POI and things like that. 100% agree. When it's doing active track on the side, when it's doing what's that mode called again? It's jumped out of my mind. It'll come back to me in a minute. Where's it gone? Spotlight. Sorry, when it's doing Spotlight as well. And APS, agreed. Spotlight, I was thinking of, because Spotlight's quite good. So, yeah, side sensors would have been much more use. Much more use. But yeah, it's an interesting product. I think it's probably one of the best drones they've made in a very long time. It's just hard to get excited about it, if I'm honest. It very much is bits of everything else made to a $999 price point. And it's not $999 in the UK. I think it's $899 in the UK, actually. It's a little cheaper than I thought in the $899 or $1169 with the Fly More. Whereas it's $999 in the US. Be a bit more excited, please. It's really hard to be. It's bits of every other drone they've ever made in this package. I think it's interesting. As I said, I think they're going to sell a hell of a lot of them. It's far more interesting than the A2 was. I was very underwhelmed by the A2. This, I'm a bit more, yeah, I can see why people will want this. Again, 1-inch sensor, 4K 60, 150 megabits a second, 12 kilometers range, 31 minutes flight time. What more do you want from a camera drone? Literally, what more do you want from a camera drone? It's a sweet spot. It really, really is. It really is. It's a bit of a shame we've had this bit of nonsense around the goggles support. I think it'd be a no-brainer for DJI to add goggles support. I don't understand why we get this segment. I put a bit of a post up on Facebook which got ripped apart about it. This is typical DJI siloed behavior, that there is just no compatibility properly between these devices. There is zero excuse for them not to have made this compatible. Some people have said, oh, well, they don't make it compatible yet because they haven't got enough supply of the goggles. I don't buy that for 1 minute. There's enough users out there with existing goggles they could have done it for. It is simply the way DJI is set up with their siloed behavior that these products are not interchangeable. These products don't communicate with each other. This won't communicate with... Where's it gone? This. I can't even use the remote on this as a second feed on that. You can't use the Mavic remote. You know, the last product... I'm shocked it even... To be honest, right? I'm shocked it works with the smart controller. If I'm completely honest, I'm astonished it works with the smart controller. But let's see what the performance is like first. iForce 2D, how are you doing, mate? Hope you are safe and well. If I owned the Mavic Air 2, I wouldn't upgrade to the... Yeah, apparently, you know, they've not said no and they've not said yes. What they've said is coming soon. And as I've said, the word I was given is the support, the beta firmware that some of the KOLs had, it was working on. So it would imply it's not far away. But always with DJI, until it's in your hand, never trust it. You know, we've still had no firmware updates for this from day one. At all. You know, no firmware updates at all on day one. So yeah, that overall is my main thoughts on it. That's where my head is at on this new drone from DJI. I think it's going to be very good. I'm not buying one. I'm not going to sell. You know, how much would I get? As Jet Martin said, if I owned the Mavic 2, I wouldn't upgrade to the A2S. I don't need a 1-inch sensor. It's better, but it's not worth the $400 difference. You know, I mentioned the V2 goggles. Which way would you fit the crystal sky antenna and the iFlight stubbies? Both at top or bottom? Right, on the V2s, you're better going on the RX ports, bottom right, top left. That's most likely the best overall performance. Now, there is a little bit of debate here to be had on this. My video that I put out shows on the difference between the V1s and the V2s. The V1s use a single fixed RX antenna. Let me just grab a set of goggles so I can point this out. This is the V2s, but just to explain this. So, on the V1s, that antenna is always RX, and it can choose then between either having those two as mixed RX-TX or those two mixed RX-TX. So, always RX, either that RX-TX switching or those two RX-TX switching. That's the V1s. The V2s are slightly different. Those two are apparently fixed RX. Those two are apparently fixed TX. And that is what all of the information I've had from my testing, as well as all of the FCC information as well. Now, there is some people who've done some tests. One of the antenna manufacturers is now saying in his tests, he's seeing the TX being switching TX RX. But that's not what DJI's FCC filings say. So there's a little bit of debate on this. But from a what is the best setup point of view, right? My belief and my tests on my antennas has been on the V2s and the V1s to put all of your benefit into reception. So if you're putting patch antennas on, put them on the RX ports. So for me, on the V2s, it would be those two. Now, there is a really good argument to be said, put one on TX and one on RX. And the reason for that is if you put your patches on the bottom, you'll have this patch on RX, this patch on TX, and then you'll have this antenna, which is an Omni, on TX, on RX, sorry, and this one on TX. So you'll have one of each kind of antenna on each setup. One Omni on TX, one Omni on RX, one patch on TX, one patch on RX. So that is the interesting bit. It's down to what you want to do. It's down to having some playing. Jet Martin Robo, so does that mean this market control supports OcuSync 3 now? And this is where it gets all confusing. Right. The thing to understand with OcuSync is it very much is a label that DJI have put on it. I have a feeling the difference between OcuSync 2 and 3 is very little other than the protocol which it runs on, and they can firmware update each one to do it. That's my opinion on it. But as Robro says there, the remote on the the A2S is still on OcuSync 2, but it says the video transmission is OcuSync 3. It's very confusing. This is the first time they've really confused things like this. If I show you, I'll show you what I mean. So if we go down to video transmission, so OcuSync 3, 4 antennas, 2 transmit, 4 receive. So on this setup, 2 transmit, 4 receive. Slightly different to the other setup. So up to 44 megabits a second, so it can do high resolution. But when you go to the remote controller, OcuSync 2. So it's a little bit confusing. So the remote control transmission system is OcuSync 2, but is that the stick control? Or because remember, your remote has the USB for plugging into your phone. So they have confused things a little bit on this. They really have. I would say the smart controller isn't OcuSync 3 as such, but sort of is. DJI have very much clouded OcuSync 2 and 3 now. They really have. You know, the first words we had for OcuSync 3 was the FPV drone. That was the first product to be labeled it. The belief always was that the FPV system was OcuSync sort of 2.5. It is an SDR, but it does have hardware behind it. And it does have custom ASICs, so there's only so much they can do. You know, look, if we go back far enough with OcuSync, okay, so for instance, the Mavic Pro was OcuSync 1. After that, they released then the OcuSync Air system, the FPV system, which I labeled OcuSync 2.5 because it was dual band and lower latency. And I labeled that OcuSync, did I say 2.5? 1.5. It should have said 1.5. There was never an official term for it, but it was OcuSync 1.5. Then we had OcuSync 2 with the Mavic 2 Pro models that released, which again was dual band, but it wasn't compatible with the OcuSync 1.5 of the Goggles RE when using it with the FPV system. However, this is where it gets really interesting. You could use the Mavic Pro remote with the OcuSync RE system as a display. So that OcuSync 1 would work with that 1.5 as a display only. And there was plans for DJI to bring support on the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom for the original Mavic remote. I just don't think it ever came off the top of my head. I don't think that one ever happened. So there is this cross compatibility. Then we had the DJI Digital FPV system, which was OcuSync 2.5. It was much lower latency than what we've seen on OcuSync 2, but single band again. So you got this second step change. You could even argue it was OcuSync 1.7 or 1.8 because it really wasn't quite OcuSync 2, and then 2.5, and now we've got the FPV drone, which is OcuSync 3. DJI does use custom ASICs. No, they use a custom ASIC on their OcuSync stuff. They used to use FPGAs, but they're now using custom ASICs. Whilst some of it is lead core based, there is still a custom ASIC involved. The Wi-Fi chip is the baseband, but there is still a custom ASIC behind it, I believe. There's still some back end to it. They're using off the shelf for the most part, but there is still some custom. For control, doesn't make a big difference. It really, in many ways, it's all what DJI have decided to call it. You know, look, DJI like to call things OcuSync 2, OcuSync 3, POI 1, POI 2, POI 3. Yeah, they keep relabeling all of this stuff, but you know, you end up having to come up with labels that sort of make sense, because if you go back far enough, you know, if you look at Lightbridge, okay, Lightbridge is very similar to OcuSync, OFDM based video with a FHSS transmission system over the top of it. Early Lightbridge was using FPGAs, and then they later moved on to a custom ASIC as well, because of the cost of FPGAs on that application was huge. So you had the original Lightbridge, which was on the Phantom 3. Well, you had Lightbridge 1, which was the standalone. Then you had Lightbridge 1.5, which was on the Inspire 1 and the Phantom 3 and original Phantom 4 series. Then they had the Lightbridge 2 standalone unit, which then you had the Lightbridge 2.5, which came with the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 and the Inspire 2, because there is differences. If you look at the Lightbridge 2 standalone, it was single band 2.4, whereas if you look at the Lightbridge 2.5, that was on the Inspire 2 and the Phantom 4 Pro version 2, it was dual band. So they do have all of these little changes between them, and it's quite funny if you go back actually all the way on these, the amount of radio systems DJI have made. I remember people saying about the FPV system being the first radio system DJI made. It really isn't. You know, you got Lightbridge 1, the standalone unit, Lightbridge 1.5, Phantom 3, Inspire 1, 2.4 gigahertz 720p video system. Then they had Lightbridge 2, which was originally on the M600 and on the Lightbridge 2 standalone, which was again only 2.4 gigs, but it had 1080p as well as dual transmission option to be able to send 2 camera feeds. They then add the Lightbridge 2.5, which came in the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 as well as the Inspire 2, which was then 1080p dual band with the option of a second video feed as well, like we've got on the Inspire 2 with the useless FPV camera. And then they moved over to OcuSync, which was lead core based, getting away from FPGAs, but still some custom ASIC in the background. Still OFDM video, but more off-the-shelf radio transceiver sets rather than custom transceivers. If you look at Lightbridge, they had to have complete custom front end on it, whereas they're using more off-the-shelf hardware now. And then you had that OcuSync 1.5, which was for the goggles RE, or was what DJI at the time labeled OcuSync 2. Then we had proper, which was the difference between, if you remember the Mavic Pro, right? OcuSync originally 720p, but it could do 1080p at very low range, single band. Yeah, there still is custom behind it. When you dig into it, there is still there's a custom ASIC in there. It's been heavily looked at by the hacking guys. They've got their own custom ASIC for the processing, but they're using off-the-shelf front end for the wireless transmission system. But it still has a custom ASIC in the background. You then had the, say, OcuSync 1, which was using 720p, could do 1080p, but very much lower range. I don't know if you guys remember that on the Mavic Pro. You couldn't get very far at all on it. Then we had the OcuSync 1.5, which was on the goggles RE with the RE system. Then we had OcuSync 2, which is dual band, 1080p, switching. And now we've got OcuSync 3, which is dual band, 1080p switching, much lower latency. So there's they're all family. OcuSync is very similar to Lightbridge. The base system is fundamentally the same. The overall protocol, it's just how it's being delivered is different. It's a bit different. If you go back to the early Phantom 3s, and the Inspire 1s, there was a massive FPGA in there, and that caused them a lot of problem. If you ever seen people with a Phantom 3 Pro, that they had the 08-015 error after updating the firmware, that was because the FPGA had not updated correctly, or its flash memory had not updated, because with an FPGA you need some memory controller to basically tell it what it needs to be, because an FPGA has to program itself every time it boots up. It's a programmable device. It doesn't program and stay that way. It has to be programmed as it boots up, basically. And that's where the 08-15 error derives from, updating the firmware, and it bricks. It's around the Umbrella chip as well, but it's mostly relating to that. And then they moved over to their own custom ASIC away from the FPGA, but that was in the later Phantom 4s. You can see that, I think, in the GL. Let me just think of the remote controller. Right, so the Inspire 1 was the GL600. The Phantom 3 was the GL300 A, B, and C models. Can't remember if there was a D or not. GL300, and then you could swap the remotes a little bit, but there was custom. And then Lightbridge 2 on the Inspire 2 remote is the same. There's a custom ASIC in there as well, rather than FPGA. And so it's all interesting, but it is very mixed up. They're getting very. Next year we're going to be on 5, OcuSync 5. We're going to be on OcuSync POI 16. All of these kind of things. And it's charging type. Sorry, he's over there. He's on, but he's charging. I can't move him because he's charging. He will be back in his usual place Sunday night over there. I forgot to charge it the other day. So, guys, that's my thoughts on the Mavic Air 2S. I think it's a great drone. I think it's going to tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. It's certainly not an upgrade in many ways. I'll be interested to see Ken's video. I'll watch Ken. I've hardly watched any of the reviews. Have you seen? Just look at how many people DJI sent this drone to, right? Just look at how many people DJI said, we're going to send this drone to. Let's just look at this. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 is my own videos come up, look. 3. Ken, I'm assuming they sent it to. I like Ken a lot, he's a good guy. 4, 5, 6. It's DJI's own one. 7, 8, 9. They sent this to this. He got all these now. 10 I found out. Look at that. I found out only had 19,000 views on his video. Too many review units. Yeah, it's impossible. And that's why Philip Bloom said on Facebook he wasn't putting his review out yet. Philip will put one out. But I found it interesting as well. Some of the other channels it was sent to this time. And it's things like this. See, this is where people have to be a bit careful, right? I don't know this reviewer. I'm not being mean. I don't mean this in a nasty way. But my new favorite drone, the Air 2S, you got to be careful saying stuff when you've been sent it for free. What I've always tried to say is, like, I think this is probably going to be a great option for this or that. But, you have to balance what is, the right thing. I tell you what I haven't seen is iJustine, A2S. That's another lady. That's not iJustine. Did they send iJustine one? They must have sent iJustine. iJustine must have done a video. Ah, there it is. So many videos on this product. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Takes 2 days to get those. Sales are worse. No delivery time for FPV drone and Mavic 2S. What's the UK delivery times like? Let's have a look, shall we? Let's buy one. I want to buy one, please. £899. Due to limit product delivery, each customer can only put... So, one per user. And this is interesting. There is no time scale there. They usually have a time scale there, DJI do. They usually have a time scale in that box. They usually have. So if we click add. No. No, I don't want key refresh. Boom. View car. 2 to 6 working days. So it's not terrible in the UK. It's not terrible in the UK. Oh, look what else I had in my basket. Look. A Zemu H20T and a Matrice 300 RTK. Shocking. Would be amazing, wouldn't it? The video is well worth watching. What he says makes sense. I bet it does, actually. I can really understand a lot of the logic behind having it over the Mavic 2 Pro. I really can. Look at that. I think we better take them out. It's not going to go ahead, is it? Yes, so availability isn't bad. COVID, pandemic, you get delayed for additional 1 to 2 days. That's not terrible. Last time they have been shipping from the UK, so... But no, I won't be ordering one of these. There is one big benefit to this drone as well, and that is the price of batteries is... I'm not going to say reasonable, right? I'm not going to say reasonable because they're still overpriced for what they are. However, it's certainly more reasonable than the 160 quid that they want for the battery for this thing. But yeah, accessory prices are not terrible. They're not great, but they're not terrible. You know, you're nearly 2 to 1. You know, you can see on the A2S, they're now selling the smart controller as along there as well, guys. So yeah, accessory prices are not, if we go, oh, I'm gonna go FPV, that's fine. Yeah, you're gonna rip me off on how much for the overpriced smart battery? Oh, hold on, has that come down? I thought they were 160. Oh, was it $160? Oh, battery packs for the Inspire 2 are very rough. Mind, if you think battery packs are rough on these, for those watching, let's just I'll just enlighten you. If you're thinking battery prices are a little rough on what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our M600 to the cart, continue to shop. Where's the accessories, please? Why isn't it showing the accessories option? Oh, why aren't they? Are they stopped shipping batteries to the UK now for this? I want to show you the price of the batteries for the M300. That will scare you. Right, so the T's... They used to be here. It's interesting. Enterprise... Ah, here we go. Sorry, couldn't find them. £710 each. And you need 2 of them. If they're extended TB50, I know that. These are the TB60s. I call these reviewers surface scratchers and sales agents. It's got a lot more visible, in my view, some of the reviewing as well. That's why I got myself over 20 Inspire 1 batteries when I had the chance. I don't blame you on that one, mate. You know, they're not going to be many of them around. What is the rationale for charging £300 $300 versus $200 for the Fly More combo. There's a few more things in it, isn't it? We'll have a look. It's expensive for waterproof battery. And remember, you need 2 of them for it to fly. Can't fly it on one. You need 2 of these. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Okay, so let's just get to the Mavic Air 2S. So the combo. So the Fly More combo on the Air, what we've got is drone, 3 batteries, remote controllers. So in the UK it's 949 and 7. So what's the difference? 769, 869, 969. So it's like 180 quid here, the difference. And you're only paying 50 quid for Care Refresh. That's worth doing. Charge hub, ND filters. It looks very similar, doesn't it? Source at 180 quid. A2S Fly More. And then in the UK, the price is 899, 999, 899, 999, 1099. Yeah, there's a big difference, isn't there? That's a big difference. Yeah. And considering it's the same. Because they can. Because they can. By the look of it. That bag must cost more. I'm guessing, in their eyes. There's no car charger in that either, is there? They've stopped putting the car charger in these kits now as well. Is it in the US? It's a $200 combo. Interesting price difference. That's interesting. It's not really warranted. Let's be honest. Compare combos. Mavic Air 2, Mavic Air 2 Fly More. Well, you can't compare between the Air 2 and the Air 2S. Yeah, not really warranted that. Let's be honest. Not really warranted at all. It's the same bag. Yeah, I was just saying, thinking that. I thought it might be there. ND filters races car. I like the car charger. I really like the car charger. I don't know about you guys who use them. The car charger was always really handy. It really is. So yeah, why is there such a price? Just to have a look for the US, for the folks who are not in the great United Kingdom. So what we got here? So Fly More is 1299, nice and easy. 1299, and then the Mavic series, Mavic Air 2. Have they dropped the price on this, mind? And then you're talking 988. 988. Yeah, $300. Wow. Okay, no, sorry. It's $300 more for the drone. I'm being an idiot. 799. So 998 minus 799. So there's $199 difference on that one. That's what I'm looking at here. So that's 3 batteries. So on the Mavic, well, so there's 3 batteries, not one in the drone. Okay, so that's the USB charger to go on the batteries. You've got the hub. You've got the mains adapter, 3 ND filters, 3 batteries, remote controller, additional props, bag, yada, 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 yada. Okay, so they're charging you an extra $199 for that. Whereas on this, 1299 minus 999, yeah, it's $200, isn't it? It's just, so you're paying $100 more for the Fly More. And this again, 1 battery in the drone this time, not 1 external, 2 additional batteries. Props and cables, charge hub. Yeah, they're ripping you off. But Air 2 shows 2. It shows 3, but there isn't 1 in the drone if you look at the time. That's the trick to that one. There isn't 1 in the drone. So you've got 3 batteries. Yeah, they are ripping you off. They are ripping people off on that one. $100 more. So have they dropped the price of this? 3 batteries again. So if we jump between the two, here we go. 1 drone, 1 remote, yada, yada, yada. So if you look, that top row is the same. You've got 1, 2, 3 cables, gimbal protector, Type-C, spare remote. 3 cables, Type-C, gimbal protector, remote. It's identical, isn't it? You've got ND filters, battery hub, power bank, and shoulder bag. It's identical. Fly mode's gone up. They've substantially increased that. They really have. Now, what are they charging, interestingly, for the batteries? So if we just go on to the A2S, and what are they? They're charging $115 for the A2S battery. And on the A2 battery, $115. So it's exactly the same. So why? Why, DJI? Why are you charging A2 users? So, is it cheaper? But the Mavic Air only have 3 ND. A2 only have 3 ND filters. Oh, there's 1 ND filter difference, but it's not worth $100. A2 and A2S framework all come with 3 batteries. Yeah, 3 batteries in total. Yeah. Just 1 picture shows it with it in the drone, and 1 picture shows 2 on it. 1 in the drone and 2, and 1 picture shows 3 separately. So the price is the same. So basically, it's a shame they never sold. They used to make the Fly More combos as a separate package. I don't think they do now, do they? You can't do that anymore. So in many ways, right, just looking at this, right, so let's just say this. If we want an A2S, what's in my cart? I better empty my cart first. Okay, so we've got the A2S. We'll keep that in there. We'll go A2S, 2 more flight batteries. We'll have 2 of them, please. Continue shopping. And I'm going to buy myself the charge hub. Add to cart. Continue shopping. And I'm not going to worry about the ND filters. I'm going to buy myself a cheap set of ND filters and add the bag. And what's that come to? Still a lot more, isn't it? Oh no, yeah, still a lot more. It's definitely cheaper, but it's just not as cheap. Yeah, it's just not as cheap as the A2. It might be that the A2 has had a price drop to entice people to buy it. But there's a bit of a rub on that, isn't there? For sure. Now, is there any HearLink users watching the channel live at the moment? Just tell me if you're a HearLink user, shout out. And what I mean HearLink is this, which is from Prophecy and CNC and Hex. Didn't drop in price. Oh, it's remained the same. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. DJI being DJI then, I'm guessing. If there aren't any in the chat, I won't do it. But I just thought I might give the batteries for free. Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it? I think, as I've already said, I think it's a very interesting drone. If I didn't own... okay, I suppose, okay, what we should say. So what does this mean? Settle in and buckle up for this one. What does this mean for a Mavic Pro 3? That is the question. What does this mean for what's next? Because for the most part, they've just ended the reason to buy a Mavic 2 Pro. for the most part. So the ownership to buy a Mavic 2 Pro right now is just not worth it, in my opinion, unless you really want variable aperture and you really want a TOF sensor for proper above object avoidance. I don't see a reason to buy the Mavic 2 Pro right now. Hand on heart, I don't. So, what does this mean for the Mavic 3? It's got to take a decent step. As Type said, interchangeable lenses. You know, I've seen people saying MFT cameras. The Mavic 2 Pro does work with the goggles RE, not very well though. It's got to, I don't know where they go. You know, we've seen MFT is the same as a GH5, so micro 4/3. So it's bigger sensor than 1 inch. But smaller than APS-C. So just to show you the sensor sizes, MFT versus 1 inch. Just to show you image sensor size, MFT. So MFT is another size in the mix of camera sensors. Okay, so just to put this up. That's a really good one to show you. So if we, actually no, I want that one. That's the one I want to show you. This is a really good image. Okay. Open a new tab. So this image here is showing you the camera sizes. So we got 0.3, which is what you had on the Mavic Pro, what you've got on the Mavic Mini, the Mavic Mini 2, the original Mavic Air. You've then got 1 inch. What is 1 inch? Let me just show you. And then we've got come on. Oh god, zoom in. No. Don't you hate it when websites don't show you bloody let's go with that one. No, it's pin rest. I hate bloody pin rest. Oh, that's actually no, there we go. That's the good one. These are the ones I always used to use. Image sensor sizes on cameras. Okay, so if you look at this image here, what you've got is half. So the blue, that light blue, would be what's on a Mavic Pro. 1 inch is this green here. So that's our 1 inch sensor. We've then got our micro 4/3, which is out here. So again, it's bigger than 1 inch, what we've got on the Mavic 2 Pro. Micro 4/3 is also the same sensor that you've got in the X5S in that cam sensor. And then out here, you've got APS-C, which is traditionally what Canon are using. And then you've got full frame, obviously. But micro 4/3 is that next size. That naturally goes above 1 inch. But the problem is a lens system for it just gets so much bigger. And it's one of the smallest lens systems there is. You know, the GH5 appears micro 4/3. This is micro 4/3. It's a good, but I think doing interchangeable camera on micro 4/3 on a drone is going to be really hard. You know, the X5S is that. So if they could make it smaller, they would have. So the X5S is micro 4/3. So could we see interchangeable lenses on a 1 inch sensor? Well, DJI have made a drone with that. You might have seen the images of this. I'll see if I can find one. Now, this drone does exist. I know a little bit about this product. Interchangeable lens phantom. This product was made, okay, in China. So this leaked around some time ago. This DJI image. Oh, is this going to be the next best, Phantom? DJI have made this. This product exists, but it was made for a specific use case in China, and it was power line inspection. It's got a 50mm lens, right? You're never going to put a 50mm lens on for anything but stills video photography, okay, on a product like this. It's going to move around way, way too much. You're never going to get 50mm, right? It's just not going to happen. But it was done because it was for power line inspection with images. So DJI have done this, and it allowed them to put different lens on. So this product exists. It's just not a retail product. It's not for our market. It's not been done. So, but that's on a Phantom. They're not going to have that on a Mavic. It's going to take. So where does the Mavic go next? What does Autel 2 have? Nothing really. More sensors. Bit better. If DJI bring out, this has already done 5.6K. So what are they going to do? 8K? 6K? Does it really matter anymore? For me, I'll tell you what I think they need to do. The Mavic 3 needs to be the replacement for most people for the Inspire 2. It needs to be at least a 1-inch sensor. It needs to have at least 400 megabits a second or ProRes RAW or something like that. I'm talking proper image quality here now. They can record it. You can do 400 meg onto an SD card now. There's no reason they can't do that on a full-size SD card. And have maybe ProRes RAW included, something like that. And really push the cinematic element. The 1-inch is more than capable of doing fantastic stuff. They just need to do a lot more on the processing. It's not the sensors that are holding these drones up. It's the image processing. You've got to remember, DJI is still, for the most part, using very low-end image processing on all of these drones, compared to the Inspire. The Umbrella chips, they are action camera designed image processing chips. They're designed for drones and action cameras. They're not high-end cinematic designed processing chips. There is so much more that could be done on the current models with proper image processing. So that's the reason this thing has such bad image quality, is because the processing's bad. So the 1-inch camera could do a lot more with a proper image processor. The RX100 from Sony is well renowned to be a fantastic camera. And that's because of its image processing, because it uses the same sensor as the Mavic 2 Pro, but it's the image processing. So you could push a Mavic 3 really forward with proper image processing, 200, 300 megabits a second to the SD card, maybe an SSD, a very small SSD. You could easily increase the size of it a little. You could easily increase the size of the aircraft a little if they needed to now, and turn it into a proper cinematic drone. Because I don't really see, is there a future for the Inspire 3, really? Everyone wants one, but I'm not convinced there's a massive future there for it. Jet Martin, the Mavic 3 will keep those cannibalized low-end Matrice, but they don't really do. But all of that's inspection. They do that. There's thermal on the Enterprise models. They're not really gonna. You got to remember, the Mavic series that we're used to are cinematic lines, so you got to think on the cinematic side. They're not going to put. There's a thermal one already. You're going to have thermal on the Enterprise. It's there if you want to buy it. You can now buy it on the DJI website. That's the big problem, Shane. And this is the big problem now with the Inspire. I almost think it's dead because of its size. I can really imagine a lot of, AP guys, cinema guys, being very interested in a bit of a supersized Mavic with proper video capability, proper video capability. Maybe even get an MFT camera on there with a fixed lens, or an interchangeable lens 1-inch sensor. I think there's a lot of room for interesting. The Mavic line is a cinematic line. Or is it time to put a nail in the coffin? Perhaps it is time to end the Mavic. Forget about DJI. Everyone loves the way the Inspire moves. Everyone loves it. If I was limited to own one drone right now, what would it be? And if I didn't, so if I was buying it today, it would be the A2S. Hand on heart. Yeah, I think it would. It would be the A2S. I think the A2S. I think it. If everyone was taken out of my hands right now, it would probably be the A2S. It would tick almost every box. Okay. Let me re-answer that in two ways. As a hobby user, the A2S. But if you were going to say to me, you're a pro user, and you want something that can do hobby and pro, it'd be the Mavic 2 Pro again. Who knows what will happen with the Mavic? Will there even be a Mavic 3? Because remember, the Mavic, yeah, but it's not really interchangeable. It's interchangeable on the Mavic 2 Pro. You can swap it between the two models. They never sold it. Yeah, 100%, Shane. I really agreed. There is a massive core. You could argue you could now dump the Mavic series, keep the Air, because remember, they have renamed these products now. So the Air is not a Mavic officially. I refuse not to call it a Mavic. It's a Mavic in the sense of Prince was still Prince when he labelled himself Symbol. But he was still Prince. So as far as I'm concerned, it's the Mavic Air. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the Mavic almost needs to put on a bit of weight now to become a proper cinematic aerial platform, because they really have cannibalized it with the A2S. So what one would I own today? If I was just a hobby user, absolutely the A2S, I think. Just looking at the spec sheet, I haven't even flown it, but I'd still tell you it. However, if I was a mix of hobby and pro, in the sense of I wanted to sell the image, I'd probably go with the Mavic 2 Pro, just because I think it gives a few benefits on that side of things. I used my Inspire 2 on a job the other day, and I was astonished. It's the first time for a long time she's been out, how freaking much of a pain in the ass and big it is. One thing for sure, there won't be a Phantom 5. I don't know. You never know. Never say never. Never say never with them. It's very strange. They could have easily had a Phantom 5 by now. Imagine a Phantom 4 with the legs like the Inspire. Oh, can you imagine it? Just the legs flip up. A baby Inspire. I would love a baby Inspire. Mavic line will take over the Inspire. I think it's really possible. I think, look, the Inspire is a compromised design. So, for instance, the Inspire's arms have to go up to clear them out the way with the 360 camera. But DJI have really got around that now by having the way the POI systems work. Now, here's an interesting question. Is it better to have the drone's legs come up out the way and have a 360 camera below for image? Or is it better to have a 360 FPV camera and have the drone flying side on? Because there is nothing to stop you having a Mavic with another 360 FPV camera on the top for your pilot and directing that, than have that whole arm assembly move up on the Inspire. I would love them to make a Hex. The other day, guys, this is hand on heart, was looking on eBay for a unique H Plus to buy to build into a proper drone using Ardra and a Pixhawk Cube. But they're still just a little bit too expensive. What is the price of Inspire 2? I can only remember that it's very expensive. It is $3,000 for the aircraft bare bone, plus another $1,700 for the camera, and $360 a pair of batteries. In the UK, $3,000. 18. It's direct pounds to dollars, so it's bigger money. So it's interesting. If you take the Inspire 2, right, the Inspire 2 and the Inspire 1 put the legs up to allow the camera to rotate freely, to allow the pilot to do cool things. But you can do a lot of that in software with the drone now, and it would make much more, plus the SSD licenses, yeah, it all adds up. But it would make much more sense to have a rotating 360 FPV camera than have the drone move the legs and have the drone fly sideways. So you could make a Mavic cinematic model, for sure, with a 360-degree FPV camera on the top of it for the FPV view. You know, I think you could really make a Mavic, a bigger Mavic, with a proper camera with a 360 rotating FPV camera on the top. And I think you could do a lot of good stuff with that. You know, there's a lot of weight penalty on the Inspire for that transitioning system, and it doesn't fly particularly well. Shane, secondhand, I know, I saw the other day, mate. I was looking at one point in selling mine because it doesn't get a lot of use. I haven't done a lot of work in the last 12 months, and for what work I have done has been done with the Mavic. And I did fly the Inspire, and I'm really tempted to let it go now, but I can see me holding on to it forever, if I'm honest. Inspire Mini, yeah, I've always wished DJI would make a Hex, a baby Hex. I really do. Like the Unique H. I love the Unique H Plus, apart from its quirks. You know, if you could have DJI in a Unique H, it would be bloody fantastic. 600 for an original Spire with the X, and that'll be the X3. Wow. But the fun with Inspire 2 is people with controllers could have fun with it. I'd love to even modify an Inspire 2 on Ardra Pilot properly. But a Unique H. I was looking on eBay. Yeah, it's a great product. I've loved the Inspire 2. She's coming to an end, though, guys. I'll give anyone who owns an Inspire 2 a piece of advice. Buy all the batteries you'll ever need now. Buy all the batteries and accessories you'll need, and whilst it isn't officially end of life, it's heading there. But I do think there's a lot more interesting to come. Unique H. Let's have a look. Unique H. We have a look in the UK. You know, like £600 or best offers. I'm not paying £600 for one. It's too much money. $1,500. It's not going to happen. 750 H Pro with real sense. No, see, there's not many. Not many at all. Not many at all. Not many at all. We still have a big point. E2S, just 600 grams, and there's a space for a 900-gram drone and more flight time, better range. Yeah, there is that. There is that. It's just, I do think they've cannibalized it a lot now as well. You know, that market has been cannibalized massive amount. It really has. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going to call it a night. It was just a quick one to give you my thoughts on it. I don't have it, don't own it, probably won't get one. Not because I don't want one, but just I'm not going to sell one to buy that. Yes, I am going to burn the battery from last week tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it as a video. I'm not going to do it live. I'm going to do it tomorrow, record it, and I'll put it on as a premiere for you guys to see what happened. Because it could take forever on a live stream. So, yeah, it's one of my plans for tomorrow. Right, guys, look, we'll be live properly on Sunday night. This was just a bit of a chat while I was up here. Some really cool stuff coming on Link and stuff like that. Live would be better. My only problem is it could take forever. But I just thought I'd share them. That's all. If you're interested in one, go buy one. I really don't think anyone's going to be disappointed. Just the only thing I'll say on the Air 2 is this, right? Don't make your purchasing decision based on future goggles compatibility, because don't trust DJI will bring it. Okay? I think it'll happen, but just never trust them. Never trust them. If you do want to support the channel and buy one, there is a link. It's an affiliate link, so you will give me some of the money you give to DJI if you wanted to support us. I do appreciate that. Anyway, that's it for this one, guys. Thank you all for your time tonight. I'll see you Sunday night. I'm trying to find the button. There it is. Bye!